Hi, beautiful. I'm Eileen Nazario, and today I would love to talk about crafting a vivacious career. Of the dozens of women I have spoken to who have good jobs, many of them aren't excited about the career path that or the career journey that they are on. Many people have jobs for the simple sake of survival, to pay the bills. What if you could craft a career for yourself so inspiring that you actually feel supported, creative, and aligned with the desires of your soul? So that's what we will speak about today. I have had many wonderful jobs in my life working at some of the big names in many industries, from JP Morgan Chase to Viacom to Google to LinkedIn. I have worked at pretty much every single company I have ever wanted to, but I'm the happiest now. Regardless of the company name, regardless of the brand, where I am right now is where I am happiest. Um, so, why is that? I want to talk a little bit about that. And for those of you who don't know my career journey, I pretty much studied marketing management in college and graduated and moved to the Bay Area from New York City to work at Google doing product marketing. And it was a dream come true for me in many ways, financially, in terms of like excitement, and in terms of just what it did for my career at large. And after a couple of years of working at Google, as wonderful of an opportunity it was, and as grateful I was to have that experience, something was like tugging at my soul. Something was just leading me on the path of no longer doing marketing and moving towards the path of software engineering. Every time I tell someone I made that jump from marketing to software engineering, they gasp and say, like, that's quite a jump. But there's a reason why I did that. There's a reason why I left this wonderful, cool, highly respected, highly competitive job to do what my soul wanted. So if you're feeling any kind of unhappiness at work, there's more you can do. Like, you don't necessarily have to leave your job as I did, but back several years ago, but there's things you can do now to kind of start aligning yourself with where you want to be internally, right? Like, there's so much we can do externally, working at the best brand names. And I'll be honest, I still work for a wonderful brand name right now, but it's no longer just for the name. It's now because it's aligned with the direction of my soul, of where I'm headed. So that's what I want to ask you. Are you clear on what the direction is of your life, like where you're headed, where you're going? Do you have a vision for your life? Are you aligning with the desires of your soul? For me, when I look back and I think about why I was unhappy or not fulfilled at any company, I can't really blame the company at all, because they had all the opportunities laid out for me right in front of me. So, what I have to do is really look inside of myself and figure out, what am I doing here? Why did I decide to work for any particular company? Why did I decide to take an offer in wherever I was in the first place? Was it from a place of lack or abundance? Was it from a place of confusion or clarity? Was it from a place of external validation or internal validation? These are important questions that I have, over the course of my career, figured out how to ask myself. So if those questions are too big right now, there's some smaller questions you can maybe journal about. And that's, ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want out of life? What do I want out of a career? And why? Another question you can ask, if you believe in a higher power of sorts, and I know not all of us do, but if you do, then one question you can ask is, where might God or the universe or the divine or your higher self, whatever you believe in, where might it be leading me? Or you can ask, how can I best serve the world? Or a more accessible question, so to speak, is what and who do I care about? So I personally love to journal, and that's how I get a lot of answers to my internal questions. But there's also coaches you can hire, there are therapists you can hire, there are programs you can, there are books you can read. So many resources available out there. You can chat with a friend, you can chat with a family member, with a school counselor, with anyone who's available to reflect back what they're hearing when you answer these questions. As I mentioned, to me, my journal is super important because it's reflected to me literally as I write. I like to write with beautiful colors and choose a journal which feels really yummy and inspiring to me, which has quotes from the Bible at the very bottom of each page. It's a little bright. And at the back of the book, the front of the book really inspires me. So it reflects back to me what I said to it. I want to also just take a moment to reflect a little bit about the companies that I have worked for and why I decided to work for them, so that you can really see the evolution of my own consciousness in my career, so that you can really see the evolution of my own understanding of myself and where my soul was headed. I chose each of these individual companies very intentionally. At every moment that I chose a company I wanted to work for, it was very, very intentional. But obviously, some of these companies I chose when I was younger. Some of these companies I chose now that I had a little bit more life experience and self experience. So let's start with my very first full time job. When I was in college and I was trying to figure out what companies to work for, literally there was no company that excited me. This was, I can't remember when I first had this question pop in my mind. I believe it was 2014. And I asked myself, where would I be excited to work at? I had no idea, literally no idea. I scrubbed through the internet trying to look at all the companies. None of them excited me until Google popped in my mind somehow, some way, somehow. Google. And I got really excited and I put all of my resources, time, energy, effort, network into trying to get a job at Google. So as you can see, what the reason for wanting to work at Google for me personally was the brand name, of course, because Google was a big and shiny employer brand back in 2014, still is in many ways. In addition to that, it was the tech industry, a very shiny term, right? Technology, the cutting edge. Uh, the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, all of these shiny words, terms, and brands. So that excitement is what propelled me to do everything I did in order to prepare for a job, for the job search, to try to get a job at Google. I got that job at Google. I got the exact role I wanted, associate product marketing manager, the APMM program. If you know about it, you know about it. It's pretty competitive, and it was a wonderful experience. I would love to chat more about it at some point in the future. But for now, I will just say it was a wonderful experience for the 2 years that I worked there. Worked on a wonderful team, worked on the year in search campaign, which is the end of year wrap up for on you see on YouTube for Google search in general, what people were searching for. So I worked on that campaign. I worked on many other wonderful stories. And then I felt that tug in my heart. So instead of choosing security, instead of choosing safety of this wonderful job that was supporting me in many ways financially very well, I chose adventure because that's what my soul wanted. That's what the tug was on my soul. I chose adventure. Not only adventure because I was going down a completely different career path from marketing to engineering, but adventure too because when I decided I wanted to do a coding boot camp, I decided I didn't study abroad in college. So why not take this opportunity to study abroad now? Right? So I chose a coding boot camp in London. Never been to London, but I figured it would be super easy because people spoke English there. There would be no language barrier. It's a city very similar to New York City, so I would feel relatively at home and safe. So I chose adventure. And then once I finished that boot camp, I took a break. What was the next company I decided to work for? LinkedIn. I decided I wanted to work for LinkedIn next. Why? The reason why is because I already had in my mind that I wanted to teach people about careers. If you have followed my journey since college, you know that when I was in college, I was part of this organization called Alpha, which is the Association of Latino Professionals for America. And I was part of the Baruch College chapter. And eventually, I ended up becoming president of that organization. And it involved a lot of helping other people figure out their careers, other students, introducing them to companies. So we would pair companies up with students by hosting events, by hosting virtual events and things like that, attending the national conference, et cetera, et cetera. Wait, not virtual events, just in-person events. This was pre-pandemic. And I already had that experience for several years under my belt. People would continuously reach out to me on LinkedIn asking me how I got my job at Google. And these questions were enticing to me. Like this topic of the job search became enticing to me. That's how this all started. And so when I thought about where I would want to work for next, regardless of what function I was going to be doing, going from marketing or engineering, I was just like, what company would I want to work for? And that was LinkedIn, because as I mentioned, they are, as you know, focused on the job search. And that's where my life was headed. I knew I wanted to create a program related to the job search. And therefore, LinkedIn would be most aligned with getting me there in terms of the focus. Because if I'm working for a company, I'm focused on what that company is selling at large, right? Regardless of function, I'm thinking about the business. What's the business selling? They're selling a lot of things related to the job search, recruiting, etc. So that's why I decided to work at LinkedIn. I was there for a similar amount of time, about 2 years, and I figured it was time for me to figure out, kind of like to look internally and figure out how I'm feeling, to think about, am I where I need to be, where I want to be? Especially, as you know, as I evolved, as my consciousness evolved, as I was on the job, the questions started to pop up. Where am I headed? Am I where I need to be? And I decided, upon much reflection of using my journal with a therapist that I had at the time, coaches that I started listening to, realized that I really wanted to infuse more femininity into my life. I wanted to infuse more creativity. I wanted to focus on where I was headed next, which is what I'm doing right now, creating content. And when you think about what companies do that, there are a wide range of companies, array of companies. But when I thought about where I would want to be, what excited me next, that company was Spotify, which is where I am now. And I don't talk a lot about it because it's my current job. So I want to be protective of my job. So I don't speak a lot about it. But I do want to share just how much that desire to lean into my femininity, to be more creative in how I live my life, to focus on content, how much that aligns with Spotify's mission or Spotify in general. If you think about the company values, it's a few of them of my favorite: playfulness, sincerity, innovation. And this all feels aligned with who I am, with where I'm going. I am happier here now than I have ever been at any other company because of the ways I align with the company and where they're headed, the ways I'm able to combine my skills, such as marketing and engineering, and leadership to actually help my team. I feel like I'm actually providing value, and that makes me feel really good. Of course, there are things that I am still working on. I'm still working on how to manage my energy. I'm still working on becoming better at engineering. I'm still working at those things, but the journey I am on inspires me. So, for example, recently I'm a software engineer on my team, but I have the skill set of marketing. So, I was able to help with a marketing related project, the marketing aspect of launching our product. So, this made me feel really helpful, and it made me feel happy, valuable, valued. And I'm able to say that I work for a company who encourages this kind of intersection of skills. So having the similar value of playfulness, sincerity, innovation, and their encouragement of me being able to bring these two skills together aligns with the direction my soul is going. It aligns with who I believe God wants me to become. So, as I mentioned, I'm still working on things, and this is going to be a lifelong journey of me working on things. But it just goes to show that you are able to be happy at work. I know there's a lot of talk about like you have to have a business, right? But not everyone needs to have a business. Not everyone will be happy being the leader of a business. Some of us feel good working at a job, regardless of our desires, right? Right now, this feels very aligned because I feel held, I feel supported, I feel contained, right? So that's my proposal to you. Where are you now? Can you look inside and figure out how you're feeling? And depending on that, figure out where you're headed. And just look at the big picture where your life is headed. Is where you are now connected, aligned, headed in that direction or not? Anyway, babe, I've got to go now. I am curious to hear what questions come up for you as you start to think about how you are building a career that you're proud of. Feel free to email me if you have any questions, and stay tuned because I will be making even more content about this. It feels really yummy and delicious to do so. So we will stay in touch. I will talk to you all later. Bye.